Y'all doing okay out there? You look like you're sleeping. It's adult nodding off in the back. Thank y'all for coming out here on NFL Sunday. Appreciate that. I want to thank Delegate Neil Parrott as well. I'm actually filling in for him. Delegate Parrott led the petition drive and asked me to fill in for him. And I'm not an attorney, I'm not an elected official, and I don't belong to any organization that would be for or against the Maryland Dream Act. I am born and raised in Southern Maryland, lived here my entire life. And I believe the reason why Delegate Parrott suggested my name for filling in is I led a group of volunteers that gathered a whole lot of signatures against this petition. And we did some other things in the state that made the petition drive successful. First, I want to clear up some myths, give a little historical background on the petition drive itself. The other side has portrayed this as a web petition, almost like you got a mass email, you clicked on it, your name was registered to a list, and that's just not true. First, you had to hear that the Maryland Dream Act actually passed the legislature this year. Then you had to hear that we were petitioning against it. If you wanted to sign the online version, you had to go to the website, MD Petitions, put in your name, your birthday. At that point, the website would auto-populate your name and address on the petition. But then you had to print the petition out front and back, sign it by your name, sign it as a circulator, fold it up, put it in an envelope, address it to us, stamp it, put it in the mail. At that point, we could count it and turn it into the board of elections. It's very, very labor-intensive. Still, over half the petitions signed were signed the old-fashioned way. With somebody like myself, Deborah, I see over there, her, someone like us standing on the street corner going, "Sir, ma'am, would you like to sign our petition in opposition to in-state tuition rates for illegal aliens?" You know, we did an event at Leonardtown graduation, Chapacon graduation. Within probably an hour and a half, we had 300 signatures. People were standing 3 deep to sign a petition. It didn't make a difference if they were black, white, Democrat, Republican. They knew this law was wrong for Maryland. We got over 130,000 signatures statewide, over 3 times the amount required by state law. This is the most successful petition drive in Maryland state history. This is the first time a petition drive got a referendum on the ballot since 1992. And if overturned by you, the voters, it would be the first time the voters overturned a law since 1974. So let me tell you a couple of things why I disagree with this law and what voters were telling me as they're signing the petition. Voters are telling me that they're sick and death of paying taxes and the fees and giving handouts. And it's a little concerning that, you know, Montgomery County Community College is apparently doing their own thing. And, you know, the state delegates, the legislature passed this law without really doing a cost analysis. I mean, it's unbelievable. The state of Maryland's in $1 billion deficit. $1 billion. Maryland does have a balanced budget amendment, but the balanced the general fund last year, and they had to suck $372 million out of the transportation fund. Over the last 2 years, issues that we care about, like the Chesapeake Bay Restoration Fund, they've taken $195 million out of the Chesapeake Bay Restoration Fund. And then they turn around and jack these fees and taxes up. Just last year in the legislation session, just last year, they doubled the fee for land records, vanity tags, they doubled the fee for titling your motor vehicle, they doubled the fee for birth certificates. Come on. And that costs you twice as much to be born in the state of Maryland. Doubled the fees on babies. These wizards of accounting also increased the alcohol tax 50%. Now, this year they increased tolls. And is there any school teachers out in the audience? I know we have one on the panel here. Oh, Chris, you're a school teacher. You notice they jacked up your mandatory contribution route for your retirement, but did you know they diverted $120 million from the pension fund to the general fund? They're essentially taxing you at a higher interest rate, higher tax rate than the rest of the population. And in this session, they've already proposed they increase the gas tax. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of Maryland is broke. The state of Maryland is broke. Yet the Democratic leadership took it upon themselves to give in-state tuition rates for illegal aliens. Let's take a deeper look at the numbers. The in-state tuition rate at the University of Maryland is a little over $8,000. The out-of-state rate is $24,000. That's a $16,000 difference. But it takes more than 1 year to graduate college. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to cost our state an estimated $16 million the first year, $32 million the second, and so on. And as we heard from the other side, the counter-argument is they pay taxes, they've graduated for our schools. As a matter of fact, the DREAM Act does require you to go to high school for 3 years and graduate. Well, let's see if we can put some numbers behind that. Calvert County, right here in Calvert County, the per pupil funding. I see Susan Shaw's in the audience, she can probably verify this. Per pupil funding for the Calvert County schools is about $12,000 per student. So if you went to kindergarten here and you graduate from Patuxent High School right down the street, you've received a maximum benefit of about $156,000. Now with the passage of the Maryland DREAM Act, we the taxpayers are supposed to be on the hook for another $16,000 per student per year. Now the DREAM Act does require the parents to file taxes the previous 3 years. File, the key word is file. But now I put some numbers behind it. Does anyone in this room really believe the amount of taxes collected is anywhere close to the amount of money paid out, the benefits received? The other argument I keep hearing is the what about the children argument. We keep talking about what about the children. Let's take a minute and realize before we change a law, what's going on with the current law? And ask ourselves, is this law even about the children? And how do we pass the legislation in the first place? When I ask myself these questions, I've come to the conclusion that most of the time we're not talking about children. We're talking about people that are 18 years old or older. And with the current law, we're not singling out illegal aliens. We're not singling out these students at all. We're asking them to pay the same tuition rate a student from Virginia, a student from Pennsylvania, Delaware, or any one of the other 49 states pay. We're not singling out these students that are here illegally. We're asking them to pay the same tuition rate that you would a legal student from Mexico, El Salvador, or any other international country. So before you vote on the referendum this fall, I want you to ask yourself a couple of key questions. As society, are we being unreasonable by keeping the current law? And as taxpayers, are we making a wise decision investing in the education of people that our businesses that are taxed aren't even legally allowed to hire? And will the passage of the Maryland DREAM Act actually increase the amount of illegal aliens in the state of Maryland and the costs associated with them? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I know you'll do the right thing this fall. Thank you for your time.